This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Usually around this time, we would be scribbling math, figuring in drop points, and trying to list the iterations of how the championship could be decided. Instead, we are faced with the awe-inspiring possibility of a second perfect season for David Gaspers. He's won every round he's attended, and the last one left on his list is Spa. Can he manage to pull it off? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 12 of the Weekend Warriors, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Giancarlo Lenzi. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Giancarlo, in previous rounds, raw pace has allowed David to gap the field and not be caught. Here, these long straights are going to make it tough for him to achieve that, I imagine.
It's one of those draft tracks, Joe. I mean, it's one of the hardest tracks to get around without being passed on one of these straights. We are talking about the historic circuit, the Spa-Francorchamps, 4.35 miles, 7 kilometers, 19 turns, 40 minutes in a very low speed, relatively low speed car. I mean, we're talking about an SRF. It's just a chassis with a roll cage in it and an engine. I mean, you're not talking about a lot of complex things here. And so you're going to be working on pure driver skill. We've had major events here, FIA. I mean, this is a well-renowned track. So we're looking for some fun for Adam.
And just to see what it's like from the driver's perspective around here and see how fast they do get, let's hop on board the GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Amjad Yaman in the GSRC SRF, so let's do a lap around Spa. Coming across the start-finish line, you want to keep the car as far left as you can go and then hit the binders once you spot your brake marker. The most important thing about the infamous La Source hairpin is nailing that exit. The outside is paved, so you get a 1x at worst if you get on the power early. But come out of there with no speed or get on the power late, and your lap time will really suffer. Now, we plunge down the hill towards Eau Rouge. In the small underpowered Spec racer, this will easily be flat out, but that doesn't take away how critical it is to get the line right through here. Just like La Source, navigating it properly will set you up with momentum on the long climb up the Kemmel Straight. And now that you've reached it, take a breather, sip your drink if you need, check your mirrors. You got a lot of time to ponder what you did wrong and what you did right. The one thing that will keep you from totally relaxing is the draft, which will keep cars close all race long. And as we hit the braking zone for Lacombe, anyone who isn't fully past you will be looking to beat you to the first apex. Thankfully, since this is basically a large chicane, defending from the outside can be done. From there, it's just a matter of lining your car up for Malmedy and just giving a little lift to get the car through the corner. We're now at the highest point of the track, and it's all going to be literally downhill from here. Rivage is another spot where sneaky passes may happen, but the lift throttle oversteer of the SRF makes this a 180-degree right-hander, one that requires balancing the car with the gas. After that, it's a short sprint to the next left-hander, which is one more small lift and then get your foot back to the floor. I always love this part of the track because if you look across over the trees, you can see the rest of the circuit in the valley below you. But there's no time for sightseeing because you've got to get your turn in perfect for Pouhon or suffer the consequences. This double apexer catches out even the best drivers from time to time with its difficulty. It's quick, it's downhill, and it's dangerous. If you got it right, you got to send the car to the left to set up for Fagnes. Just like Lacombe, this is something of a large, quick chicane. A clever driver with a good run can occasionally pull off a pass into this S-bend. Once more, there's no time to relax because the line from Fagnes takes us directly into Stavelot. It's important to get the first part of the corner right because once again, you shouldn't lift for a long time afterwards. The second part of the corner can be tricky, but if you hit the line right, it's flat out. Now, because this part is so fast, we find ourselves with another section where draft battles start to erupt. But instead of a heavy braking zone, it leads into the fearsome Blanchiment. In a faster car, you'd ease off the gas, but with a Spec racer, the right line will be flat-footed. Despite not having to lift, it's still single file, so getting side by side will cost both drivers time. Honestly, the wiser move may be to sit behind the car in front and then set yourself up for a pass into the bus stop. Get the car to the left, throw out the anchor, and slam it down through the gearbox. Watch out for these large red sausage curves at both apexes though. They'll knock the car all out of sorts, and traction will be very important out of this chicane. Hopefully, you got it right so that your opponent can't have a go at you into La Source. But regardless, as you approach the line, you finish the lap around Spa.
And while that lap guide did show us starting and finishing on the Grand Prix start-finish, of course, this is the classic layout that we're running today, which keeps the layout the same. It's just that the start-finish line is after La Source. We'll try and show you exactly where that is a little bit later. But first, we want to remind you that the Weekend Warriors is brought to you by Sim Stickers. Whether it's button boxes, steering wheels, or keyboards, they have you covered. You can find out more at simstickers.co.uk. Big thanks to them for sponsoring this season. And this season has been pretty one-sided as we take a look at the Spec 1 Championship. I mentioned David Gaspers has won every round he showed up to. Now, you'd think that he'd have a much larger points gap there, but both because he's missed 3 rounds, which means he has to show up today, and he has. I did see him log in. And also because Sadro's been very consistent, finishing up towards the top. He still potentially could do something here, but it's highly unlikely. It would take a lot of penalty points from Gaspers for him to overtake him. We're pretty much counting this championship as Gaspers and waiting to see if he can win every single race he's attended. We've also got a Spec 2 championship. This is the amateur championship. And let's take a look at that. It's a lot closer, 19 points between Kern and Haycox, but I've seen Bob Kern log in and out of the session quite a few times. I'm not sure if he's having internet issues or what. Hope that's not the case. It would be a shame for him to lose it here in the last round. Doherty is still mathematically in it. In fact, all of your top 5 still mathematically in it. The problem is that it's unlikely that they'll be getting quite as many points with them being Spec 2, but we have seen even podium finishes and wins from that Spec 2 class before. In fact, why don't we go over the race details here for today's event and give you an idea of what we're up against. It's the final round, and they do have a limit on the fuel cells. Now, the real Spec Racer Fords, which we've been talking about a little bit, have big enough fuel cell that they could go a 40-minute race, but today they've decided to enforce a pit stop, just like they do every race. The setups are open in these cars, and the points are actually rationed. So first place, of course, will always get 100 points, but last place will also always get 25 points. So the fewest points that David Gaspers can get is 25, hence why he'd need penalty points to fall behind. They have a fast repair. There's the penalty points explained there as well. It's going to be a fascinating day. The drivers have a very cool track to deal with, and it's a little bit cloudy out, which is appropriate for Spa. But we want to remind you that once again, you're watching this on the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure and subscribe when you have the opportunity. All you got to do is click the big red button that says subscribe just below this video. You won't miss a moment here on IESN. One last bit of news, though, from us is that we do have a merchandise store. If you haven't been watching, we've been talking about this. We have a link below in the description. We are selling stickers there. Now, we've made sure that these stickers are designed to be very hardy. In fact, they can reinforce structures up to California level standards of engineering, so they can withstand earthquakes and whatnot. Make sure and get some of those. Maybe patch up your house a little bit if you do live out in California. That could help you out there and make sure that you stay safe. Right now in the qualifying, Jerry McAreevy is on the pole, but Giancarlo, there is it's an open qualifying, and in these cars, I have to imagine that the qualifying won't necessarily reflect race pace.
Yeah, I mean, with the tire models these days, who can tell? And some of these guys might be sandbagging. You never know. I mean, it's a tough bet. I mean, in qualifying, you're still looking to do the same thing you're doing in the race, and you're looking for that draft. The question is, are you able to set up with all this traffic? It looks like we're looking at right now. We're looking at Daniel Sadro right now, and he's just kind of going alone on his lone run here, and he's currently in third at 4 tenths down from from Brett Holton. And, in these cars, it's, Joe, you and I have raced these before. We've gone head to head in these things. It's always about the draft on tracks like this. It's so incredibly hard to just be at a race pace without somebody in front of you.
Yeah, so I wonder if it's really not that important for them to try and get as far up, as long as they're in that top group with Sadro is right now. But where is Gaspers? Let me double check to see. He's only put a single lap in. It was a bit of a slow one, a 3:06. He's actually coming around to finish another lap now, it looks like. There you can see the DH driver on screen. He's down in 35th, last of the drivers with a time in, so that 3:06 certainly not representative. Let's see out of La Source if this one's going to be a little bit quicker. The time is looking good on his current lap from what we're seeing on our overlay. Looks clean off of here as long as he stays within those bounds. This one should count. So will this improve as he crosses the line? Oh, he must have had an off somewhere. Another one that did not count, and he's only got 2 minutes left. So this is essentially his last chance to set a time. Incredibly, we've actually seen the number 23 go from the very back to winning the race a couple times this season. So it would not be unusual for him to do the same here. Jerry McAreevy coming around trying to improve on that pole position out of La Source. His quickest is a 2:49.1. Let's see what the number 67's got. It's a 2:49.3, so a couple tenths slower for him there. Now a minute and a half left as time continues to run out for our qualifying. Aaron Vagley down in 33rd, also a driver looking to find quite a bit of time here today, as he's got a 2:53.1 under his belt. Let's see what this one's going to be as he crosses the line. This one's not going to count. Now, there are no incident limits in this series, Giancarlo, but we're seeing it's affecting the qualifying quite greatly, I'd say.
It's going to be really tough for some of these guys in such a large field to get from the back of that pack all the way where they should be. But that's the beauty about the SRFs. I mean, you're always looking at battles. It makes it super exciting. This is a lot like an MX-5 fight. You've got very equal cars. It's open setups, sure, but there's only so much you can do on these cars to take you to that limit.
Right.
And
now,
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, right now we're watching David Gaspers take the car to the limit as he is on this final lap with just 30 seconds left. It is going to run out here, and he's got a few more corners to go. Now, we haven't seen the entire lap, so this one also could wind up having an off track somewhere that we didn't quite catch. Out of Blanchimont down towards the bus stop, you see Juracek coming to start his final lap. Looks like he should be able to start this one if he wants to take one more, but the checkered flag now comes out. Checking to see who's going to be our first across the line. Got a number of drivers pulling off. I see Richard Franco. Looks like he is going to be able to finish. He's a little bit far ahead of the 23. Franco's the only car without a lap time right now in qualifying. So does he actually get one here? He does. A 2:53.6 is going to actually put him on the board. Where is David Gaspers? He's coming down the hill now. He seems to be happy enough with this lap that he's going to try and complete it. A 2:50 flat. And that is going to put him in 8th place. Not his greatest, but it's good enough.
That'll bring him to the front of the pack. I mean, he's got plenty of competition around here, especially around his group. We're pretty close in times.
Oh, and Hugh Haycock's up to the pole, beating out Jerry McAreevy. I mentioned that our Spec 2 drivers have at times been on the podium. We might have a pole sitter here today, and I believe that is worth bonus points. As we wait for more drivers to finish up, Samuel Dick does not improve from his 20th spot. Nick Carty going to be next. He's down in 37th after Gaspers managed to put a lap in. That puts Carty to the very back of the field, rather. And he's not going to get a scored lap this time, as he must have had an off himself somewhere. Now Aaron Vagley down in 34th. A 253.1 becomes a 252 flat, but it only takes him up 2 positions. So despite nearly a second quicker, clearly the back of the field separated by quite a margin. Now, what about Daniel Sadro, the other driver fighting for a potential championship, even though an unlikely one? Number 51 currently sits in 4th position as he comes up to La Source. Right now, he's got about half a second up to Hugh Haycock's 2/10, nearly 3/10, I should say, up to 3rd place Brett Holton. So a significant gap, and he's not confident he can break it because he comes into the pit lane. Nico Schuk also coming around. Still a lot of time left. Even though the checkered flag has come out, they are allowed to complete this lap up until you see that clock finish out. Schuk not happy with his. He abandons his lap. Juracek, the last one I'm pretty sure we saw cross the line with the ability to take another lap. And this 250.6, which was his last one, will improve to a 250.4. And that comes up to 14th position for him. That is going to be our field for today. All set. So let's go through your starting grid here for the finale of the Weekend Warriors. Hugh Haycock's a bit of a surprise pole for him. Jerry McAreevy will be next to him on the front row in 2nd place, and then Brett Holton starts in 3rd position. Daniel Sadro starts P4 with Adam Bradshaw in the 5th spot. Erwin Rotkrins will be starting in 6th spot. Then it's Steve Elson starting in P7. Ian Haycock's, the father of Hugh, will be starting in 8th. And David Gaspers will be 9th. Gets bumped down by Hugh's late qualifying pole. Greg Stefani rounds out your top 10, Giancarlo.
All right, we got David Gregorio starting at 11th, followed by Brian Deschort over in 12th. Ramon Regalado, sorry about that, and Miroslav Jurasek in 4th. We got Edward Doherty, Nico Schuk in 15th and 16th, respectively. Stevie Ray in 17th. Dominique Barreau in 18th. James Tabor in 19th. And Samuel Dick rounding out the 20th spot.
Then it's Pascal Montmorency in 21st. Bob Kern starts 22nd today. Paolo Brim will be starting in 23rd. Jim McGill will be next to him on the outside of that row in 24th spot. Chris Murakami, not the greatest qualifying for him, down in 25th. Tom Gradwell starts in the 26th position. Then it's Jeff Cantor in 27th. Fred Desai will be starting in 28th. 29th goes to Kellen Rhodes. And the top 30 are rounded out by Kenneth Batley.
And just following up on the last of the pack here, we got Paul Jackson 31st, Aaron Vogt at 32nd, Jeff Jacobson at 33rd, Ian Wilson at 34th, Mark Jihan at 35th, and Richard Franco at 36th. And we got Nick Carty at the last spot with a 253 at 37.
37 cars, not the largest field we've seen at Spa, not the largest field we've seen in this series, but still plenty. And will give us lots of action from front to back as we're waiting for the last of the field to grid up. Once again, we want to give a big thank you to the sponsor for this season, Sim Stickers. And again, if you want to check them out, that is simstickers.co.uk. They could potentially help you label all your buttons on your rig. Lord knows we have enough of them at this point to try and sort through.
Label your buttons and get a VR headset so you can't see them.
I didn't really think about that point, but fair point. I guess our VR users wouldn't find them quite as useful. But regardless, we are having a rolling start here, and I think just waiting on Aaron Vagley to head out to the field. There he goes. So we should get started any moment now on this 40-lap race. The classic layout means, thankfully, they don't have to go through the huge, long endurance layout pits, but it'll still be costly if you have to take an extra stop. And some drivers might just have to do that if they find themselves running into one another and getting damage, having to go and take that spare car.
Damage is one of those rough things here. It's like, if you get damage early on your lap, it's not just going into pit that's going to screw you, it's going to the rest of that lap.
Yeah, so long to get around here. I mean, we were showing those qualifying laps, nearly 3 minutes in these cars. It takes a while to work your way around Spa-Francorchamps and lesser powered machinery. It's certainly not like the F1 cars doing it in about a minute and a half as they now come through the bus stop and then up towards La Source. Thankfully, the pace car will lead them around that, so we won't have a bit of a weird start with the drivers having to wait without the pace car around the hairpin. And it's going to be Hugh Haycox that will lead the field with Jerry McAreevy next to him. What kind of start can Gaspers get in this? Can he climb his way forward and manage to get in contention for the win? As they come around La Source, Hugh Haycox now has control, or will in a moment here after the Porsche pace car peels in. There it goes. Green flag is out. Haycox is already on the loud throttle. He comes across the start-finish line down into Eau Rouge, and that has spread out the field with that early start. McAreevy already single file behind him. Same with Sadro, Holton, Rotkrins, Bradshaw. Very few are double file, even all the way down to the mid and back of the pack. So this is looking like a relatively calm start, Giancarlo.
Which is pretty, I mean, with such a low amount of horsepower, yeah, it's really great that these guys are doing a calm start. We've got 40 minutes of racing. You don't want to screw it up early, and everybody hates that turn one. Everybody hates it. I don't care who you are, you all hate turn one at the start of the race.
McAreevy managing to slipstream by Haycox to get into first. Sadro stays put in third position. Where is Gaspers after that?
Gaspers in sixth. It's out with Brett Holton.
Oh, there he is. I even had him highlighted on my timing and scoring. I was thinking, where is he? As Regalado has an issue. Looks like this was down into Ravage, so we'll get back to the replay on that in a little bit, but he spun off track, so everybody's able to get through pretty easily. Fred Desai's taking a tow for some reason. Another thing we'll have to look into to see what happened to him. But already our field down through Puhan, gaining speed over 100 miles an hour now and getting ready to break for Fanyes. Looks like mostly single file racing. Bit of a change of position between Adam Bradshaw and David Gaspers. So that puts Gaspers back up to 6th. He must have fallen to 7th for a short moment there behind Bradshaw. Right now our highest driver in the Spec 2 races, Hugh Haycox in 3rd. And then Erwin Rotkrins. Haycox actually is in 2nd, rather. Timing and scoring just a little bit screwed up because of Fred Desai taking a tow. We're unsure how to tell who the Spec 2 racers are. It's just any driver with a number on their car over 200. Go ahead, Giancarlo.
And we got Hugh Haycox coming in with that draft right behind McAreevy. And I got to ask you, Joe, I mean, if you're going to lead this race and you've got one of the best times down, are you just going to sit behind and play it patient and just be that guy?
I probably would. I don't know if these guys would. Wow, it is a mess behind them, though. In fact, a lot of action between Bradshaw, Elson, Ian Haycox. This is 8th, 9th, 10th. A lot of cars that were side by side. You can see just the gaggle of them heading down to La Source. Got a spinner in the back. That looks like that might have been Bob Kern, actually, as this group comes down to La Source. Bradshaw around the outside of Holton. He just barely gets a little bit of a better exit off the corner, so he should have him down into Eau Rouge, but it's still not settled out between Ian Haycox and Elson behind them, as well as Gregorio and Stefani, who are side by side. Greg Stefani says, I don't want any of this, and he backs out before they get there.
Ian Haycox taking up a little bit behind Elson, letting him go without losing too much time. Now he's going to be able to get the draft. We're seeing a bit of damage there on Elson and Holt. Just look at that rear bumper. It's just kind of mashed up a little bit. Hey, that's extra drag on your car.
And you could see Elson having to weave his way through and somehow gets to the front as we're going 3 wide now with Bradshaw stuck in the middle. Behind him, that's Ian Haycox managing to get through into 7th place. Brett Holton slips back into 8th. Then you've got Bradshaw almost making contact with Gregorio sliding through Lacombe. They get through safely, though, but Bradshaw still having to fend him off, holding the inside line into Ravage. Gregorio going way wide, and he's finally got to give it up. Fierce fighting here in the second group. They're not careful. Well, it's not even if they're not careful. They've already fallen back from the top pack of 5. Elson is about 2 seconds away.
think maybe Ellison was just kind of holding. No, it wasn't Ellison that was holding them up. It was probably somebody in the earlier pack that was kind of holding that whole group up, and that's why we have such a bunch right here. I mean, we're going from Ellison down to, oh my gosh,
I think.
so Stefani. So that's a group of 7 cars.
Riding on board with Greg there for a moment. That was Juracek who was getting by him. Ed Doherty just ahead. There's Elson up at the front of this group, having himself a nice little aggressive run on the first half of the lap. But is he going to get that return to him here? It certainly looks like Ian Haycox has a great exit coming out of Stavelo. We're not missing much up front, by the way. Hugh Haycox has fallen behind Sadro back to 4th, but otherwise it's been much more calm than what we're seeing right here as they come up to Blanchimont. Haycox going to be able to get past Elson with that swift left-hander. But is he going to try and strike back down into the bus stop? Nothing doing there, just not quite willing.
Speaking about that front pack, we just had a change. David Gaspers overtook Jerry McCreevy on that last corner. Just went on the outside, and McCreevy, I guess, wanted to give it up a little bit and let him take the lead.
Well, there's our answer on whether or not Gaspers could manage to get back to the front pretty quickly and try and take the lead away. A little bit of a defense down through La Source from Jerry McAreevy, but just didn't have the speed off the corner. As behind them, Ian Haycox into the wall, coming out of La Source as a ton of cars go by. I wonder if he had help on this. No, looks like it was all on his own. Let's take a look at the replay. He did get the car going once again.
Just a minor bump there.
Yeah, just starts to lose the rear. Oh, no, I don't think he even touched it. Managed to pull it to a halt from that angle.
And it was clear coming out into the track there because, everybody else is going wide. So it was nice to be able to pull out like that.
You can see on your screen that in the meantime, McAreevy did get the lead back from Gaspers on the Kimmel straight. Gaspers going to try and outbrake him, though. Round the outside of Ravage. He is brave today. He wants this win, and he wants to be up at the front, wheel to wheel, as they come through No Name.
Oh, no.
It looks like
we got a big crash in the back of the pack. Ian Haycox, as he was coming down the straight, collided with 3 other cars. Go back at this.
Looks like this was into Lacombe. I think Dominique Bureau got into the back of him. Might have been some ghost contact here as well. I think Jim McGill was one of those you're going to see as we watch from above.
Oh, just unfortunate collecting.
And Pascal Montmorency was the other one in the 271 that had contact in there. So this changes up the order a little bit. Elson, your leader. Gaspers, your leader. McAreevy second. Sadro third. Rotkrins up to 4th. A little bit of a quiet run from him, ahead of Hugh Haycox. And that's the last of our top group before you get back to Brett Holton at the front of the other one. McAreevy and Gaspers swap around yet again. So now McAreevy up at the front.
We got Elson and Holton swapping positions again, too.
Still side by side down to the bus stop as Gaspers is going to be able to sneak by McAreevy. This is certainly good news for Daniel Sadro as he can easily keep up with them with all that fighting. Wow, Rotkrins with a big bobble off of the bus stop, though, as he starts to lose control. This checks up himself and Hugh Haycox. I wonder if they'll lose the draft in this. As they come out of La Source, this is the spot where you want to be if you're going to make a mistake, because if you're close enough to get any sort of slipstream, the long run up the Kimmel Straight is certainly going to give it the opportunity.
Oh, man, Haycock's just losing all sorts of time. I wonder if he's got some sort of damage going on, or he just didn't get a good run out of the source.
Hard to tell as our leaders you can see on screen going side by side. McAreevy goes around Gaspers. And I think Rotkrins and Hugh Haycox have now firmly lost the draft It's 1.6 seconds between them. So this is great stuff for our top three, as that's fewer cars, fewer complications in the mix. Meanwhile, behind them, Juracek had a nice little fight with Elson and Holton. He's going to come out with 6th spot. Elson with 7th and Holton with 8th. On screen, Gaspers back by McAreevy down into Rivage. Already 10 minutes into this race, and we're only on lap 4. Such is how long it takes to get around this circuit. We jump back to Doherty here.
Doherty following Samuel Dick in 11th. Taking a look on the inside here. Oh, and he takes it cleanly. Let's see if he can get the exit.
Bit of a brave move down into Puhan, but clearly he feels he's quicker than Sam, so he's able to overtake him. Gregorio looking to take advantage of Sam being held up, but he's going to have to go the long way around. Was that a lift, though? I wonder if the 119 just let him through.
I don't know. 119, Samuel Dick, I mean, he was kind of on the inside. He didn't have a really good eye into there, but he's able to keep up so far. He didn't have the best line going in.
So this puts him down in 13th. Doherty gets 11th. Gregorio up to 12th. Just behind them, that 4th car in the train, that is James Tabor. So many times that I look over our timing and scoring, and I see cars trading spots, but it's got to be expected as a regular occurrence around this track. Continue to watch Doherty getting a big push actually here from Gregorio, getting that little bit of extra speed down into the bus stop. Hopefully he brakes a little earlier because of that as well. Behind him, Tabor nearly getting to the back of Gregorio, braking for the bus stop himself. Nobody makes contact, but some scary moments there in the mid-pack. Wonder if we'll see a few drivers maybe attempt an early stop here. Have to imagine most probably going to try and save a little bit of fuel. See if they can get that jump in the pit stops. So we come back to the front where McAreevy is under threat from Sadro. But they've both got a toe on David Gaspers as he punches a hole in the air for them. Could we see 3 wide for the lead? Yes, we can. McAreevy going to take the middle and has the most momentum of the 3 of them. So he is up at the top spot into first. Sadro can't quite get past Gaspers by the time they hit the braking into Lacombe. The gap behind them back to Hugh Haycox is extended up to 1.9 seconds now. They continue to drop Haycox and Rotkrans, which is potentially something that Juracek might be interested in, because back in 6th, if he's quicker than those two without them using the slipstream, they could reel them in eventually. Looking through the field to see who our biggest movers are right now. And honestly, I'm seeing Stevie Ray up 7 spots and 8 spots in P9 currently. And then you've got Sam Dick is not doing too bad himself. He's up 6 from 20th. Tabor ahead of him up 7 spots as well to 11th from 19th on the grid.
Going back in the field, I'm looking at number 247 of Aaron Vogt. Looks like they had a little battle here between him and Rhodes and Jeff Jacobson. Overtaking Rhodes on the inside.
A nice little move from Vaguely. Oh, and Nico Schuk's had an issue. Nico Schuk, who was decently up the field, has gone off track in what looks like Stavilo. He gets it back on, but he continues to lose positions as we go back to the replay to see what caused this.
Oh, just a little bit of slippage. Oh, narrowly avoided.
I think that was Bradshaw who snuck by. We're going to watch from his perspective. Wasn't super close, but certainly had to choose wisely on which way he went. Nicely done. Whoa, so already some damage on the back of Bradshaw anyways, as we could see from his onboard. Rear of the car not looking that great. He's running down in 18th. Meanwhile, up at the front, Gaspers ahead of McAreevy. Sadro continues to follow. If I know Sadro, I bet he's trying to save a little bit of fuel himself behind these two. Just stick with it. See if maybe he can jump him in the pit stops as they come up and over Adilion.
He's got the overtake. Going in on the outside.
Fuel saving this time for him. As they get ready to break for Lacoombs, he's fully ahead. As long as Gaspers doesn't send it in deep, I'd say he's got this lead. Once they hit the chicane, it looks like Daniel Sadro is your new leader.
Finally saying, look guys, you guys had your fun, it's my turn.
And we're just about halfway through this race as well, so that might explain why he's willing and ready to jump ahead. And looks like Elson, one of our early stoppers, that tends to jive with the way that he's been running these races before. Stevie Ray as well. Usually our first stopper of the race is in and out. Those two come out in 29th and 30th. Still, whoa, and side by side down into Pujon as David Gaspers not willing to let Sadro take the point. He's going to retake the lead away. McAreevy sits back in third. Right on board with Jerry now. You know, we always kind of joke and kid about how these aren't terribly fast cars, Giancarlo, but I'll be honest, if I was heading around Spa at about 100 miles an hour in an open cockpit, tiny little car like this, I'd probably be kind of terrified.
Oh my gosh, just the neck muscles alone in real life. I mean, you're looking at downforce just pushing that helmet. You know, if you're going 50 miles even, you can feel it. If you ever done go-karts going down long straights with a windy day, it's an incredible experience, I'll tell you.
Down through Blanchimont, they swap once again. Sadro got to the point, but Gasper's looking to retake it, but he's going to have to go around the outside of the first apex into the bus stop. He is going to manage to outbrake him, but could be seen over-under from Sadro coming off of this final chicane. He certainly gets a decent run, but once again, he'll be on the outside as Gaspers fends him off coming up to La Source. These two at this point are having fun. They both know that the championship is pretty much over at this point, and it's all about who has the pride of finishing ahead. Sadro would certainly like to deny the perfect season to Gaspers, but so far he's having a little bit of a tough time staying in front. Next time by will be halfway in this race for these drivers. Do we see any other takers for pit stops, though? Oh, Chris Murakami just had a big issue coming out of La Source himself. And it was Tom Gradwell who had a narrow escape getting by him. There's Murakami getting it turned back around. Watch Gradwell in the dark car behind. The blue and white.
Ooh.
Or actually, no, he was in the black car, rather. Yeah, that is just threaded the needle between both of them.
I hope he wore his brown pants today.
Murakami decides now's a good time to come into the pits. Wonder if he has to take a spare car. I can't remember if he hit anything in that. Didn't quite see it on the replay. Back up at the front, none of these three have pitted. Gaspers and the navy blue and white machine. The black, white, and red is Sadro McAreevy, and the green and white stripes. Interesting to note that Erwin Rotkins in fourth place. I thought he was losing time, but Giancarlo, I'm looking at it. It's held steady about 1.8, 1.9 seconds. So he's running even pace, it looks like.
Yeah, Rotkins just kind of staying back, saying, I'm okay with fourth. Nothing too big going on for me. He's hoping the battle up on first, second, and third is just going to slow them down enough by the end that he'll be able to probably catch them for getting some sort of slipstream.
We ride on board with Hugh Haycock, still our leader in, Irwin is our leader in the Spec 2, but both of these racing in Spec 2 and competing for that championship, interestingly. But where is Bob Kern? Because Hugh Haycock is challenging Kern for that Spec 2 lead.
Bob Kern coming into pit lane and now exiting out of pit. So it looks like he's in the 36th position. Is that correct for timing and scoring?
It is indeed. He is on the lead lap, but he's now at the tail of the field. However, his pit stop is done. Question is, where is this going to cycle him back? He started 22nd, which is a long ways back from Hugh, and could be an easy championship today for Hugh Haycock in that Spec 2. Up at the front, we see Gaspers, Sadro, and McAreevy have not changed since we last looked. At least if they have, they've gone back to where they were. They come up and through Eau Rouge. Cars over 100 miles an hour through that compression and over the crest. Ooh, and we got some more takers in the pit stops. Looks like James Tabor, David Gregorio, Brian Short. If I'm not mistaken, these were drivers that were near to Ray and Elson, were they not?
They're fighting a little bit back further in the field. I've been keeping an eye on them. They're fighting for ninth. They've been having a nice little battle, kind of keeping it clean. It's very much mirroring Gaspers, Sadro, and McAreevy in the but just trying to go in for that ninth spot. So they all decided to come in at the same time.
You can see that there's a little bit of swapping back and forth between Gaspers and Sadro that we saw on screen. James DeBoer on his way out and back going. He will be well behind Elson and Ray.
Speaking of Elson and Ray, we've got Elson and Ray going side by side.
Yeah, this is on the way up the Kemmel Straight, and they're also bringing along, who is this? Nick Carty. Nick Carty to the inside there in the blue number 6 as we got a car off track next to them. What in the world? That's Gregorio.
David Gregorio.
How did he get over there, though? We have a, you know what? I thought he maybe had a slowdown penalty, but he just exited the pits. So I'm not sure what was going on there. Oh, and looks like we've got Kenneth Bately, unfortunately, falling to 21st with that mistake in Rivage. We just saw him out into the gravel. UK&I driver does manage to continue. Right now, our highest pitter is Steve Elson. He's climbed up to 17th with a few more cars that have pitted. And he's looking to get by Jeff Cantor. Off to the inside into Stavolo, and he makes that look easy. Stevie Ray continuing to try and follow him through. And number 11 still has one car splitting them in the form of Cantor now, but it's only about a second back, it looks like.
Looks like Gasper, Sadro, and McAreevy are still staying out at the more than halfway point of the race.
But they still haven't gone by the pit entrance here. Let's see. Don't think it's quite time for pit stops yet, unless one of them wants to try and do something tricky here. Oh, Gaspers is heading in, though, and Sadro is not. McAreevy is in, so Sadro is left out on his own. And while in normal circumstances this might be an advantage, I wonder if without the draft he'll be slower. Rotgren stays out. Hugh Haycock's pits, Brett Holton pits. Juracek stays out. It's a mixed bag on strategy here. It's like Doherty pits, Tom Gradwell coming in. So a few drivers have been saving fuel, and a few have not. Bureau continues on. Just as Gaspers is getting ready to come out with McAreevy in tow. And in fact, these two are going to get in a little bit of traffic, it looks like, because it's Regalado and Bureau just in front of them, along with, we got another car coming up. That's Aaron Vagley, Jacobson, Rhodes. This is a lot of traffic that they're getting stuck in. This could make the difference, depending on whether or not they get held up or if the draft of these cars will help them. And right now, Gasper's having to go wheel to wheel with Vaguely through the corner, certainly slowing his time up a little bit through there. And in fact, Vaguely's not going to give it up as they go through Malmedy. And finally, Gasper's is able to complete the pass. Gasper's returned in 7th. That pass puts him back up to 6th. Next in front of him is Regalado and Bureau. Just over a second in front of them.
Looks like Steven Elson pulled up the 13th spot out of all those the chaos in the pit.
Yep, and he is no longer...
Hugh Haycock's taking him in 11th. Jerry McCreevy at 10th currently on the lap until we get Kellen Rhodes and Jacobson to come in for their pits.
This is the driver that did not pit in that front group, Daniel Sadro in the number 51. And again, not coming into this pit lane as he locks up the brakes, clearly pushing incredibly hard here to see if he can try and pull a gap with this extra lap. Don't think we'll see him manage to get one more out of it. If so, that'll be quite incredible that he managed to save that much more than those around him. Off and through La Source. Let's see if he comes in or not. Starting to drift over.
I think he thought about it. I wonder if he's hoping. I wonder if he's got his pit reporters hoping that they're going to be held up with all that traffic that he can pull a bit more of a.
It could be. If he thinks he has enough fuel, then this could be a good call. Rotkrans is now in. Juracek follows. Those two not able to go that far. Dominique Bureau and Ramon Regalado are holding up Gasper's right now. In fact, Gasper's in a lot of trouble because he might go 3 wide. He almost did going through La Source as it looks like Regalado's going to pit and Bureau is not. So Gasper's not out of the woods yet.
Oh, that checkup right at the last corner is just going to kill his Eau Rouge straight line speed. Hopefully he can still stay in that draft of Bureau.
And that might give him a little bit of a slipstream here.
Yep.
So that'll gain him some of that time back.
Incredible amount. Wow, look at that.
Just reeling him in. That gives you an idea of what the draft is like from riding on board. And slides inside up to Lacombe. And at this point, Bureau knew the writing on the wall that he couldn't hold him back from here, so he lets him go. McAreevy's been trying to follow, but McAreevy's starting to fall off of Gasper's. It's more than 2 seconds between them. Now that he's broken the draft, this is good news for David. Would certainly be a little bit more uncomfortable for Daniel Sadro if he comes out with only David Gasper's to fight with.
We still have Bureau and Rhodes who need to pit in that top 5. Now, following that whole group, you've got Hugh Haycox, Stephen Ellison, and Stevie Ray. And Stevie Ray and Ellison actually were going a little bit wheel to wheel, just through Blanchemont. And now they're going through Pouan. Let's see if Stevie Ray can actually come up a little bit behind him. No?
Not quite. I'm sure Ray is happy, though, that he's re-caught Elson, as that seemed to be his goal after the pit stops, try and stick with that UK&I driver. I can tell you that Daniel Sadro just has a couple more corners to go before we get to the pit stop. And then we'll really find out how things played out between himself and David Gaspers. There's 34 seconds between them, and Gaspers was on the lane for 34 seconds, for what it's worth. From cone to cone. So up to La Source, Daniel Sadro should be entering pit lane unless he's got some sort of extra fuel cell in there. And he veers off to the right. Yep, he is coming in.
So he's got 30 seconds, 34 seconds.
Gaspers is just going through the bus stop now. Sadro still looking for his stall. He'll have to go a long ways since he qualified in 4th. He's way towards the front at the bottom of the hill. There you see Gaspers still leading McAreevy. Sadro's hit his stall. almost sounded like, from what we were seeing, that Sadro might have been out of fuel on the way to his box. As he hits the line, it's a decent stop, though. In fact, it's a short stop compared to Gasper's, about 2 seconds shorter. Gasper's is coming through up into Eau Rouge, but Sadro doesn't have the speed quite yet. He tries to get that little engine chugging, and as he finally hits the track, Gasper's is up and over the crest, and we're going to get the gap here in just a moment. 1.4 seconds between them.
Wow, incredible stop. I'm wondering if maybe he shortchanged it just a little bit. He's going to be running right on fumes.
He managed to get it quite a bit longer there than David Gasper's, but if he is short, that's going to make it even harder to stay ahead. In fact, it's down to half a second. Gasper's has already caught him. So Sadro's got to play the strategy game now and try and see if he can beat him on by just using that slipstream here in these final few laps. 10 minutes left. You can see just how cloudy it is out today as well. With the sun setting, it's getting a little bit dark, and the track temperature still down at 69 degrees Fahrenheit.
McAreevy actually pulled up. We saw it on screen that he pulled in with the fastest lap of the race, and that was without the draft of Gasper's. So he pulled in a 248.96, and Gasper's a 249.175. So if he can keep up that pace, he just might be able to catch them. But with Sadro in the front and giving him that draft, it's going to be a little harder once they start battling.
Yeah, McAreevy's got to hope for a little bit of help at this point if he wants the victory. In that battle for Spec 2, Hugh Haycox is now your leader. Erwin Rotkrens is behind him, but they are together, so that position could also very easily change. And where did Bob Kern wind up now that our pit stops are
back
over?
Down in 35th? So we must have missed something that happened during the race that just kind of killed his whole race.
We did see a spin at one point as the lead changes around. Gasper's now ahead of Sadro. I remember we saw it in the background, but we didn't get to go to a replay of Kern spinning. So clearly that was an awful moment for him, costing him a lot of time. And at this point, unless there's an issue with Hugh Haycox, I'd say that Hugh has got this championship in the bag.
Gasper's pulling in that lead, but taking a bit of curb. Be careful, guys. You don't want to mess it up on these last laps.
Yeah, and these, oh God, this car just bounces whenever it hits a curb. It's like a pogo stick out there. So he's got to be careful. Thankfully, with this modern F1 track, many of the curbs are pretty flat, though there are ones that stick up just a little bit. As they come across the line now, we're down to 8 minutes to go. I believe we've got 4 laps left as Gasper's now sits the fastest lap of the race. Get a little bit of a tow here. Sadro, as we ride on board, he's going to get up beside Gasper's. He has a nose ahead. Gasper's is pretty good on the brakes most times. What can he do with it here as he's still side by side just next to the rear quarter panel? And he is going to be able to pull it back in front of Daniel Sadro, but that is useful information for the number 51. Meanwhile, Elson and Ray also have been using the slipstream to swap back and forth, back in 6th and 7th, but they've got 8 seconds to make up to Hugh Haycox in the top 5. That'll be impressive if they run that down with the back and forth.
Speaking of Haycox and Haycox following Rothkins in the 268 machine, with a 2/10 gap between them, they've been just kind of real quiet this whole race.
Yeah, we've only seen them move around once or twice, but otherwise just kind of hanging around each other trying to settle this out. I wonder, they've got to be at least a little bit aware that they're both Spec 2 drivers. And maybe that's why they're thinking, let's not fight for it now. Let's not hold each other up and try to get as many points as we can. Of course, you always have to wonder towards the end of the season, how much is a driver thinking about points as well? Does Hugh Haycox know the situation between himself and Kern? Is he even aware that Kern is so far down the order?
Or they're just out for a good drive.
Glad these guys do say they just are out for fun. They don't really care about the championship as much. We were riding on board there. You can see we've switched over to Sadro and Gaspers, who have also switched over. Sadro now your leader, Gaspers now behind. And it's going to be Gaspers back in front pretty quickly because he gets to the inside, down into the bus stop as Sadro lets him through. Behind them, Macarivi is behind by a whole 3 seconds. I think he's losing at this point. I'm not sure that he'll be able to gain on them. There's your top 5 on screen right there. Down the main pit straight around La Source. And I think I called it wrong. I think we are at 2 laps left here. Let's see, we're doing 2-minute 49 laps. They crossed the line at about 5:30. That's really tight, actually. Sadro going to get the spot right back up into the lead. Giancarlo, in your time away from GSRC, have you gotten good enough at math that you can do it on air now, or is that still a no-no?
No, I rely on my son to do that now because he's wholly into quantum physics, and I like to brag about that. So he's like my little math calculator.
I love it. As they come out of Malmedy, another good run from Gaspers and another look to the inside. These two are really having fun here. Usually you would not see them changing back and forth under braking into corners, but neither of them seems to care too much. They just want to enjoy themselves at a classic track and trade positions for a pure pace fight out for the win. And did we have a problem with Bream? No, Adam Bradshaw. Adam Bradshaw going very slow. Ooh, there was a big accident coming out of Eau Rouge here, and this involved Dominique Bureau. We've got the replay. Oh, this looks like a bump draft gone wrong. I've done that before.
That's one of those soul-crushing crashes at the end of the race.
You feel very stupid, yeah. No matter which car you are. You're watching from Bureau's perspective. Yeah, he linked up just wrong. That pushed him into the grass, and both of them, unfortunately, heavy hitting into the wall. I know Bradshaw took a tow. I'm not sure if Bureau's still going as well.
And something we missed was Stevie Ray actually taking the position from Steve Ellison for the 6th. And it looks like they're doing a little swapping. But for the most part, Ellison was actually... Oh, and we see Ellison. Well, we don't see it on screen, but...
Yeah, on screen we see the lead changing hands once more, this time with Gaspers heading to the front. And again, the lap times are 2 minutes, 49 seconds. They're getting very, very close to the line here. Let's see what it's going to be. Is it 1 lap to go or 2 laps to go? Sadro going to slow them up even more as they almost bang wheels coming through La Source. Sadro with a little bit of a better exit, and it indeed will be white flag this time. Sadro is going to lead this lap, but will he still be in the lead when they come down to the checkered flag? Up and over Radillion. Good run for Gaspers. Even if he gets it here, Giancarlo, though, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for Sadro to get that right back.
Yeah, it's just the whole rest of this lap, and it's going to be a big battle right up to the last. Unless something goes really wrong with traffic or anything like that, but I don't see any traffic coming up for quite a while.
Yeah, it's such a long lap around here that they haven't had issues with traffic this whole race long, even with 40 minutes. Ooh, and that's starting to look like, as we jump back to this battle, as Steve Elson, Holton, and Ray take it almost 3 wide down into Lacombe. Elson comes out with 6, Ray comes out with 7th, and Holton slots back into 8th. But I was about to say, Sadro's lost a little ground to Gaspers. It almost looks like David has turned on the afterburners.
He's got that turbo boost. Hit that button.
VTEC just kicked in. Oh man, this is not good for Sadro. 7/10 back. Gaspers is on the cusp of winning every single race he attended this season, all 9 of them, including this one, if he comes home as the sun sets over us just before the lights start to come on here at Spa. Sadro tries his best to reel him back in. This is going to be his best opportunity. This is where the draft is going to be the most effective for him at the end of this lap. Don't need to go there, but it looks like Aaron Vaguely had an issue a little bit farther down the field, and Nico Schuch did as well. Looks like Ian Haycock's not Nico Schuch, excuse me. As we continue to watch this fight, Sadro reels it in within 0.6 of a second. Still not close enough to attack. They come through Blanchimont. Again, this is going to end on the downhill after La Source. Now he's down to 0.3. Maybe he could actually go for it. Is he going to try and send it into the bus stop? The answer is no. He still gets one more chance at La Source. He is within striking distance. If he gets a good enough exit here, and it's not looking good as he gets a little bit of wheel spin, and David Gaspers starts to pull away. This is going to have to be just an incredible dive if he wants to try and take first away in the final corner. But I don't think Gaspers is going to let him do that. They dive down to the apex, and there's nothing there for Daniel Sadro. David Gaspers, for his second season, is going to take a perfect season, winning every race he shows up at here with victory at Spa.
Wow, what an incredible battle. And we're actually I'm looking now at Stevie Ray and Elson and Holton coming over the line just about. And it looks like Elson just keeping it away.
And Hugh Haycox does take 4th place over Rotkrins, which will give him the championship over Bob Kern. We had another problem with David Gregorio down in the bus stop. Vaguely with another problem. A lot of drivers having issues here at the very end of the race.
Oh, we got a little battle just coming up, and we got 14th and 15th of Kellen Rhodes versus Paolo. Rhodes took a really wide line, a late apex on that on La Source, and just able to edge it over the line.
That gives him 14th place. Nice strategy there by him.
Sadro should want that.
Yeah, really. I don't know that he was quite close enough, and in the end, it didn't matter as the rest of the drivers stream across the line. The last of them on the lead lap are finishing. So let's take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel before the sun goes fully down. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. But stick around because on screen you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Spa-Francorchamps. The season is over for the Weekend Warriors, and it was David Gaspers with the victory, his 9th out of 12 races, but he only arrived for 9. So with the 3 drop weeks, he has earned a perfect score. Daniel Sadro finished second behind him with Jerry McAreeby in third. Then you've got Hugh Haycox, who clinches the S2 championship today with a 4th place. Erwin Rotkrins behind him in 5th, second in the Spec 2 race as well. Steve Elson takes 6th. Stevie Ray, how about this, from 17th on the grid down to 7th at the checkered flag. Brett Holton finished behind him in 8th, and Miroslav Juracek finished 9th. Greg Stefani actually finished exactly where he started, which was in 10th.
We got James Tabor in 11th, Edward Doherty coming up in 12th, Samuel Dick on 13th, the 295 of Kellen Rhodes in 14th, pulling over that last little bit of Paolo Bream in 15th, Ramon Regalado in 16th, Brian D. Short in 17th, Tom Gradwell in 18th, and Chris Murakami coming in just shy of the 20th spot of Nico Schuk.
Jeff Jacobson finished 21st after starting 33rd. Ian Haycox was behind him. It was a long ways backwards for the number 35. He started in 8th. He finished 22nd. Nick Carty took 23rd, and then it's David Gregorio in the 24th position. A lot of drivers back here gaining a lot of spots, like Mark Gehan up 10 to 25th. Ian Wilson finished in 26th position, and Jeff Cantor in 27th. Then it's Kenneth Battley in 28th. Bob Kern, unfortunately, hands over that Spec 2 lead in the very last round with a 29th place, and Pascal Montmorency finishes in 30th.
Rounding out the rest of the field, we've got Aaron. Oh, wait, no, I got this one. I heard you earlier. Damn it. Aaron Vogley in 31st, Jim McGill in 32nd, Adam Bradshaw in 33rd, Paul Jackson in 34th, being a lap down those top 4, and Dominique Barreau in 35th, and Richard Franco 36th, and Fred Desay in 37th. Looks like he did not finish the race.
And Don Good did not start. It was Vaguely was the last name, is how Aaron told us to pronounce it. But
oh
yes,
my God.
David Gaspers joins us, though, now. Winner this race and winner 8 other times in this race, but you only showed up for those 9 rounds, David. Where do you go from here? You've got multiple championships. You've got multiple perfect seasons. Do you go for the ultra perfect with every fastest lap, every pole out there?
No, I don't really care about statistics. I just come and want to have fun.
We were a little worried that you were going to have to pull another back to front here today, because up until that last qualifying lap, you were mired all the way down in the back. Were you having problems getting a clean one in?
No, I practiced a pit entrance and only did that one lap. I planned to start around 10th place and was 9th in the.
Speaking of not caring about the stats, it looked like you and Daniel were just having all loads of fun out there. What was it like going wheel to wheel with him for just about the entire race? Because I can't count how many times the lead was changed hands.
That's actually pretty normal on this track, since the draft is so strong. You can't get away unless the other guy makes mistakes. So if we can't get away from each other anyway, so why should we just sit behind each other and have a boring race? So this way it's a little more exciting.
It was very exciting for us. We enjoyed you giving us that fun to watch. Again, congratulations. Anybody you'd like to thank before we let you go?
The others for participating, and Steve for setting up the league.
Great stuff. And we want to thank Steve as well. And thanks to David Gaspers for talking to us, our winner here today, having started from 9th on the grid. Up next, second in the championship, second on track. At least he got a win at least once this season. Giancarlo's caught up to Daniel Sadro. At least I believe Giancarlo's caught up to him. Let's see if his mic is working. Oh, looks like we may have lost Giancarlo. So, Dan, I'll pull him into the booth here with me. Dan, we were just talking to David about how much fun it looked like you guys were having, and it seems like there's the utmost respect. As hard of rival as you two have with each other, it seems like it seems like there's just a degree of trust between you.
For sure. Yeah. David and I have done quite a bit of racing together, not just in the official series, but in Weekend Warriors as well. And we've gotten to know each other as drivers fairly well. So there's quite a bit more trust. And I even have I had a very respectful race with Jerry here in the first before the pit stop. So it was really, really good. Once the three of us broke away, it was just we all knew that there were three drivers that were going to be pretty decent, safe drivers that we could race safely against.
Now, I wondered if we could get confirmation, because we thought that we heard maybe you were coasting into your pit stall when you finally took your stop. Was it tight on fuel?
No, it was not tight on fuel, but you are right. At this pit lane, I just put it in neutral and I just let it coast, and then I brake, because you actually gain too much speed just coasting, and you can get a penalty for going too quick in pit lane. So I just put it in a neutral, and then when my speed gets too high, I just brake a little bit and just coast it down. But I had enough fuel.
So that explains what was going on there. And a great pit stop it was, as you managed to jump ahead, but then he came right back at you. I feel like we may have asked this before, but what's your thoughts between the draft tracks like here at Spa and Monza and whatnot, and the more technical circuits where there isn't much opportunity to try and just reel someone in with the slipstream?
Well, I like a lot of the tracks, most of the tracks, actually. I think the different types of racing that you get from Spa or Monza, as opposed to Tsukuba, Lime Rock Park, I think it just takes different skills, and I think they're both perfectly good in this type of car.
That sounds like a fair enough answer. Again, congratulations on another podium this season. You racked up quite a few. Anybody you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Oh, well, is there anybody I can't thank? First of all, I will thank Gaspers. He has given me quite a bit of help over the last year and a half or so, and has really helped me get to the pointy end of the grid. Thanks to Steve Ray for putting these on. Thanks for you guys for doing great broadcasts. Thanks to the entire SRF community. There's a reason I keep racing this car, and it's that community. And thanks to everybody, really.
Awesome stuff. That was Daniel Sadro, second today, second in the championship. But first in the Spec 2 championship, and first in the Spec 2 race today is Hugh Haycox, who joins us. Hugh, congratulations. By our calculations, you are our Spec 2 champion.
Yeah, I think I am. It's quite amazing, really.
A little bit surprised by that yourself. You and Erwin seem to have a nice little battle yourselves, but as opposed to what we saw with David and Daniel up at the front, it looked like you and Erwin were kind of calm, that you weren't really interested in training positions, just kind of waiting for the final lap. Is that accurate, or were you giving it everything?
I was just trying to pull a gap to the guys behind, really. I thought working together was the best way to do that, and I wasn't really in it to win it. I was there for the championship, really, more than anything.
Yeah, and speaking of which, I believe this might actually put you into the top 5 overall in points this finish, potentially. I'll need to check afterwards. Knowing that, and knowing that you'll be promoted to Spec 1 next season, what's your goal for the overall finishing positions and the points next season?
I have no clue. This season's been kind of up and down in terms of finish of results, so it'll be interesting to see if I can get my act together and start putting in consistent results, which will be nice. But I'll have to see tomorrow next season.
And because we've been a bit of a broken record here with this last question, I'll switch this one up. Can you give us your thank yous in French potentially here?
Yeah, sure. Merci à tout le monde d'être venu, et merci à mon père et de m'avoir présenté cette ligue, et merci à Steve pour avoir tout mis en œuvre.
Look at how cultured of a broadcast we are here. Cox gives us his multi-language skills. Again, thank you, Hugh, and congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, you guys.
Hugh Haycox finished in the 4th place overall, first in the Spec 2 race. And finally, we're going to be talking to the league organizer, as he had a pretty good finish, 7th place from 17th on the grid. But Steve, let's talk first about the series as a whole. This has been a fun season, even though it got a little bit dominated by David Gaspers. I'm not going to lie. They were some incredible races. What are your thoughts from the organizer's point of view?
Oh, I'm really happy with the series. It's been a fun season this season. We've really kind of hit another peak. I think we've averaged over 35 cars a race, which is awesome. It gives everybody a chance to race against somebody, and a lot of clean racing. The league has a reputation of being that, and you'd be hard pressed to find a more friendly, more helpful, more competitive league than what we've got going here.
Certainly seems like it. I can't help but continue to notice how much camaraderie there is between the drivers in the forums and in the voice chat here in the races. Obviously, it seems like David Gaspers has continued to be on a bit of a tear. Has there been any thoughts of mixing up the rules or doing anything in general to mix things up? Or are you happy to let David continue on his domination?
Yeah, we probably just pretty much keep the same formula we got going. To change the rules wouldn't be fair to some of the others. So I think we've got a pretty good formula for the league. I just wanted to drop in real quick and thank you guys and thank each and every one of the Warriors that come out each and every week. Those guys are the ones that make this league what it is. I just get the privilege of setting it up and then participate with the guys, and they really make it what it is. So a big, huge thanks to all the Warriors and to Paul Godden and Sim Stickers for supporting us the last couple of seasons, and he's on board for next season. So everything's looking good for the league.
Oh, that's great stuff to hear. And thank you for bringing us back each season for coverage, because we've loved getting to follow the Weekend Warriors as it's grown and expanded. Anybody else you'd like to thank before we let you go and close up for the last season of 2019?
No, hopefully I covered everybody there, you guys and all the Warriors. Just a little plug for our V Runoffs Big Grid next week. We try to put 60 cars on track and just have a lot of fun, and we'll be doing it at Watkins Glen Boot, and you guys will be broadcasting once again. So that's always a big fun race. So hope to get a full grid for that one.
Oh, we are really looking forward to that, because that is a wild time. Again, that was Stevie Ray, 7th place today. Big thank you to him, the league organizer here in the Weekend Warriors. But it brings us to where we need to wrap up. We also want to thank Sim Stickers, give them another shout, and also point you to their website. It is simstickers.co.uk if you want to go and see if they've got any cool products that could help your sim rig. And also to iRacing for putting us on IESN. Make sure and subscribe. All you got to do is click the big red button that says subscribe. It's just that easy. Thanks go out to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast. They're listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Giancarlo, Amjed, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram, GSRC_Graham. The next race, as was mentioned by Steve, is not actually the Weekend Warriors. It's going to be the V Runoffs. It's the big grid race that they hold each week 13 at Watkins Glen, Sunday, December 8th, a week from now. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.